Good evening, sisters. So I've been trying to break down Nick's Contrapoints recent video. I know him as Nick and Contrapoints, so I'll try to say Contrapoints because then everybody knows who I'm talking about. His video is very bad because, well, it's just flat out wrong. The characterization, the first thing that I mentioned in my first overview response to his video is the fact that he put Blanchard, who came up with autogynephilia, and Michael Bailey in the same box. And then he only argued against Bailey. And the problem with this is that he never really truly argues against autogynephilia. And the other problem is that his characterization of Bailey is all wrong. And so what he ended up doing throughout his video is he had Peter Coffin, another lefty dude, read some of the excerpts of Bailey's book, The Man Who Would Be Queen, in this obnoxious voice, as if to, play on your feelings instead of what the book actually entails. Now, he also brought up Alice Dreger, who did a very good job of covering Bailey and Blanchard, and sort of got dragged into this whole mess because when Bailey's book came out, 3 autogynephiles went after Bailey. And it's funny because consistently, whenever these autogynephiles run into Blanchard's theory or Bailey's book, they get angry enough to attack. They've attacked Blanchard, they've attacked Bailey, but in particular, Alice Dreger has written a huge report about these 3 autogynephilic males that went after Michael Bailey, who is the author of The Man Who Would Be Queen. And she outlines exactly what happened so that we don't have to guess. And so what I find interesting is, one, whenever autogynephiles like Nick and other men come across this typology or come across The Man Who Would Be Queen, this is the reaction. Now, to be fair, Nick is not giving it such a violent reaction, but he's attacking it nonetheless. There have been other autogynephiles who have flat out attacked Bailey. And one of the things that Nick does in the video, as I said, is he plays on the emotion of the situation because he wants to discredit Bailey. Well, he really wants to discredit Blanchard by attacking Bailey. But they're 2 different people, and even his attack on Bailey is incorrect. Using Peter Coffin as a voiceover and sounding really goofy and sarcastic while reading passages out of Bailey's book isn't going to discredit Bailey, okay? Because Alice Dreger wrote about this, and Alice Dreger is going to argue because she knows Bailey and she knows Blanchard, and right here, we're going to prove Nick wrong, okay? Contrapoints is wrong the way he characterizes Bailey. So I'm going to point out one paragraph in Alice Dreger's long essay about all the autogynephiles that attacked Bailey. And this is the particular paragraph. I'm sorry, I have to switch the screen so I can read it to you. Now, what Nick doesn't tell his audience, what Contrapoints doesn't tell his audience, is that Bailey never intended The Man Who Would Be Queen to be some scientific treatise, okay? This is not to say that Bailey doesn't have a clinical background or a science background or a research background, but he intended this particular book, The Man Who Would Be Queen, as a more of a more of a case study, like looking at three or four different autogynephiles, and writing about the experience of being around autogynephiles. So Nick misrepresents Bailey in the sense that he presents this thing to his audience that Bailey intended the book to be a scientific treatise, which he did not. And Alice Dreger confirms this in her essay about all the autogynephiles who went on and attacked Bailey. So here is the paragraph from Alice Dreger's essay about the controversy regarding the autogynephiles who attacked Bailey. Quote, "From the start, Bailey intended this book, The Man Who Would Be Queen, to be very different from anything he had published before. Whereas most of his previous work consisted of peer-reviewed articles for scientific journals, this book would be a popularization based on certain sexological findings of his lab and others, but replete with vivid stories of people the author had met, stories provided to put a human face on those findings, along with accessible, abbreviated accounts of key scientific studies. The book would also feature the author's hunches, speculations, and personal opinions. It would include suggestions for further reading, but no other documentation. Thus, The Man Who Would Be Queen was never envisioned as a work of science in any traditional sense. Instead, Bailey viewed the book as his chance to expose to the masses what he saw as the often politically incorrect truth about feminine males, boys with diagnosable gender identity disorder, surgically feminized, genetic male children, male homosexuals, drag queens, heterosexual male cross-dressers, and male-to-female transsexuals. Bailey also saw the book as an opportunity to make some money. When he was ready to sell the book, he engaged an agent who negotiated in November of 2000 a contract and an advance from Joseph Henry Press." So there you go. So Nick's characterization, Contrapoint's characterization of Bailey, is completely incorrect. Okay? Bailey did not write this book to be anything other than what I just explained to you, right out of the mouth of Alice Dreger, who is a friend of Bailey and who is in this essay defending Bailey from autogynephiles like Contrapoints who are intent on attacking him. So right there you can see that Nick's characterization of Bailey is all wrong. Okay, it's all wrong. Now, I could point out, maybe I will just take a little bit of time to point out some of the clips that Nick uses, some of the things he does to try to paint Bailey as some unscientific hack. But Bailey is far from an unscientific hack. Not only does he understand all of these things, he's a peer-reviewed scientist and researcher. So, yeah. Wrong, Nick. I mean, Contrapoints is flat out wrong. And so the strategy of attacking Bailey to get to Blanchard, and by trying to taint Bailey with this, oh, he's just a hack who wrote a book, The Man Who Would Be Queen, is wrong. And so I will put Alice Dreger's long essay, the link to it will be in the description box, so you can check that out. Now, I'm going to tear apart more of Contrapoint's crazy video, but I think it's important to note that both Ray Blanchard and Michael Bailey, two very respected scientists, have been consistently attacked by autogynephiles like Contrapoints. And so anybody who knows anything about the background of the subject understands that this is commonplace because, and Nick even mentions it in the video, that he feels offended that somebody understands that this is all fetishistic and this is all, an issue of him creating this persona and directing the the erotic target location to himself. I mean, that's like the hallmark of autogynephilia, is an error target location, which means that Nick has created a female persona and he's in love with that. So this is it's no small wonder that all of these autogynephiles are angry that this shit's out there. Like, the truth is out there. There's no, it's kind of like you can't kind of hide from this anymore. You can't sit there, and the more you attack, the more clear it becomes. And Nick even admits in his video that he is a behavioral autogynephile. And his only argument, like I said, seems to be, oh, Bailey's not a scientist, therefore Blanchard's theory is terrible. And I know a few men who don't quite neatly fit into Blanchard's typology, or later in their life, these men went back to being heterosexual, or some other loopy story, some anecdote. Whereas Blanchard, when he was developing his typology, he saw many, 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 many men, just like Contrapoints. So who am I inclined to look at as an expert on this topic? Certainly not Contrapoints, right? I mean, it really is down to, do you look at a bunch of long-standing sexologists who are researchers, who have written many peer-reviewed articles early on, before transgenderism became so politicized, like the hot potato it is today? Or do you believe some dude on the internet who really feels uncomfortable with the fact that he can be classed in Blanchard's typology? I mean, it really is down to that. So anyway, you know what I'll do is I'll skip ahead in this video, and I'll show you how Nick tries to deal with Bailey, how he mischaracterizes Bailey. I'm just trying to find specific parts. I should have probably done this before I put the camera on. Oh, and he also, Nick also brings up Moser, who wandered into Blanchard's typology and tried to discount it, but ultimately ended up failing. Yeah, of course, there's Nick playing different roles. I thought it was more at the beginning of this video, but, oh, here it is right here. Okay, so here is Nick. Here's what Nick thinks is a counter to Bailey. Oh, he's going to read Alice Dreger here, too. Yeah, he went after Alice Dreger as well. Shit, I can't find it. I can't find where he reads. They're just really quick snippets, but I'll have to do it in my next video. You're just going to have to, I guess, if you've watched his video, you'll know what I'm talking about. Peter Coffin with the stupid voice reading, lines out of Bailey's book. Yeah, so there you go. There's another critique. And because Nick's video is almost an hour long, I might just have to break down every concept one thing at a time to show Contrapoints being in the wrong here. Thanks for listening. Link in the low bar to Alice Dreger's account.